Hello there, good morning or good afternoon wherever you are, and welcome to this very special Telecoms.com Intelligence webinar. My name is Tim Skinner and I'm the Content Manager for Telecoms.com Intelligence. Produced in association with Cisco, today's presentation is the penultimate webinar in our series of 4 dedicated events assessing and analysing the current IoT marketplace. Telecoms.com Intelligence recently undertook extensive research with its readership to gain views and perceptions on how the extremely promising Internet of Things industry has evolved, and where the telecoms industry sees it heading in the years to come. Just under 1,000 industry pros responded to our in-depth questionnaire, and this series of webinars coincides with our dedicated and free-to-download IOT Outlook 2015 report. The report can be downloaded from telecoms.com and features full analysis of the key functional and technological challenges associated with IoT, including networking, cellular and infrastructural challenges, cloud, big data and analytics, industrial IoT, and finally information security. Joining me today is an IoT expert from Cisco. Yasir Qureshi is the Head of Sales Business Development for Service Provider IoT, and he began his career in the telecoms industry 18 years ago at AT&T. He's since moved around a variety of positions from engineering to business development, and he's a firm believer in the potential of IoT. Yasir now heads up all sales globally for Cisco's service provider IoE portfolio. And on that note, Yasir will be talking today about how to build an IoT capable infrastructure, the considerations and business opportunities therein included. We'll look at why and how service providers should be adapting their business models, how to transform infrastructures to boost profitability, and what capabilities service providers need in order to achieve IoT success for both enterprise and consumer demands. After the webinar, we'll have some time for Q&A with Yasir, where you'll be able to pitch any questions about the presentation to him that you may have. So stick around and get engaged later on. But for now, I'm going to hand over to your presenter for today's webinar. Yasir, it's over to you.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. So first of all, I'm very excited to have the opportunity to talk about Internet of Everything today. This is definitely the time for IoE. The hype in the market is at its peak, and Cisco, as well as the service provider community, are significantly investing in this space. I, for myself, focus on the SP segment, and I'm really starting to feel that we're finally making inroads to address IoE. If I compare my conversations to the SPs from 2 years ago, now they seem to be a lot more clear about their strategy and go-to-market for IoE. And today I will share some of my experiences to give you an overview of the SP strategy for IoT. So from the various research reports and market data, you all are well aware that the number of devices getting connected to the network is growing exponentially. Somewhere between 2009 and 2010 is where the number of connected devices began to outnumber the planet's human population. And by the year 2020, there will be approximately 50 billion smart objects. Think about it. By the time you're done listening to this presentation, an additional 30 to 40,000 devices would have come online. Now, the human population that connected to the network 10 years ago were able to give the SPs a certain level of ARPU, and the SPs in turn had architected and built the network and infrastructure primarily based on revenues from human users. We live in a different world today. This is the machine world, and these machines have a very different connectivity and application requirement. And as you know, most of these machines will generate sub 50 cent average revenue per connection for the SP, which means that SPs will have to essentially build a complete new infrastructure and business model to be able to profit from machine transactions. They'll have to rely heavily on open source, scalable systems and shift to procurement strategies where they heavily rely on consumption-based models. This in turn could be a win-win for the SPs, and I see a lot of operators already moving in this direction and realizing the benefits by sharing risk and rewards with their suppliers. So, moving on, as we all know, the term IoT or Internet of Things was coined by British entrepreneur Kevin Ashton in 1999. Typically, IoT is expected to offer advanced connectivity of devices, systems, and services that go beyond M2M communications and cover a variety of protocols, domains, and applications. Me, working for Cisco, we actually took this one step further and defined IOE as the network connection of people, process, data, and things. The Internet of Everything creates a $19 trillion value at stake. The combination of increased revenues and lower costs that is created among companies and industries. From an SP perspective, I see operators looking at IOE as a great opportunity for them to grab a greater share of wallet and grow out of their comfort zone of only selling connectivity at most MTM. While, as you know, M2M does translate to a significant dollar figure for value at stake, the higher revenue dollars for the SPs are really to be had in more innovative connection types, as we would call them M2P or machine to person, or P2P, that's person to person. Machine to person connections are those connections where the connection type allows information to be transferred from a thing to a person. A lot of times also being referred to as data analytics and or converting data to information. And person-to-person connections happen virtually through video, mobile devices, social networks, and in a lot of cases also referred to as collaborative technologies. All right, so moving on to the next slide. As discussed, IOE is an amazing opportunity for SPs to move beyond connectivity and up the value stack to much higher streams of revenues. SPs are gradually moving to delivering vertical applications, analytics as a value-added service, and delivering platforms for their customers to make the most use of their connection. While I would completely agree with you that this was mostly talk about 4 to 5 years ago, we see operators being very bold in offering new sets of vertical solutions and analytic capabilities over their IOE platforms today. In order to accelerate the adoption of these solutions and accelerate the consumption of their platforms, operators are increasingly leveraging an ecosystem of partners, including system integrators, technology vendors, and most importantly, focused team of application developers to help their customers build customized applications based on an inherent SP IoT platform. With the tool sets available today, it is relatively easy for operators to provide prefabricated applications which enterprise and public sector customers can easily give finishing touches to address specific use cases they require. Selling these services based on business outcomes leveraged by consumption-based models is clearly helping operators monetize and make IOE a contributor to their top line. With that being said, security is of chief concern with every IOE application that you would launch or take to market. As IOE weaves itself into our daily lives, including our bodies, homes, cars, meters, and grids, we all know that when something is connected to the network, someone will try to hack it. According to a Cisco Commission survey, 73% of business decision makers expect IoT to cause threats to increase in severity over the next 2 years. Unfortunately, in our industry, we always see a rush to market, and while doing so, we tend to ignore security. We might see some of that happen with IoT as well, but let's try and make sure to incorporate security at all levels as we deploy IoT use cases. Today, hackers sell databases on credit card information and personal profiles. Tomorrow, if not properly secured, they will be able to sell information based on sensors and connected devices. Service providers are in a great position as a central point of all information to provide end-to-end security to business and consumers. Most organizations today have a wide range of disparate technologies to protect their IT and OT networks. OT networks in particular run critical processes 24/7, and if data becomes unavailable, OT forces to shut down the processes at significant cost to the organization. SPs need to shift in providing beyond network security to a new threat-centric approach that is as pervasive as IoT and the threats themselves. And it must span a range of attack vendors to address the full continuum before, during, and after an attack. The right approach for IoT cybersecurity, along with additional integrated layers of protection, will enable organizations to enjoy the many business benefits of IoT while maintaining a high level of data privacy and protection and ensuring reliable, uninterrupted service delivery. Right? And as most of you kind of listening in are probably very familiar with the SP domain, gone are the days when SPs were able to sell connectivity at enviable margins and enjoy recurring revenues. is that if SPs want to monetize beyond connectivity, they need to work hand in hand with their business customers and work with them to be able to sell on business outcomes. SPs need to be able to provide vertical solutions that address business challenges. SPs will not be able to scale to become subject matter experts in all industries and segments, and hence they need to have the ability to prioritize and find the least common denominator market segment, scenarios, and issues that align with their existing assets, coverage, and relationships. They need to be laser focused and strategize on a focused go-to-market to be able to monetize the IoT framework with both partners and customers. This has to be a customer-in approach versus a build and they will come approach. A common strategy that we see a number of operators adopting and making good use of is to choose a small set of vertical applications that they intend on specializing, understanding industry KPIs, and building vertical teams to deliver an end-to-end solution, and in parallel, develop a platform to enable solution and application creation for the rest. The platform as a service approach works well, especially for those operators who either have relatively healthy SI capabilities in-house and or are able to form strategic partnerships with regional SIs that can help them build on top of operators' connectivity. These partnerships are very difficult to maintain, especially in cases where operators have conflicting interests to develop SI capabilities in-house. Right, moving on to the next slide. So, service providers and operators have an interesting dilemma as they build a network to address IoE. While a successful IoE go-to-market clearly requires a customer-in approach, SPs have massive infrastructure assets in place and hence will build infrastructure up versus application and or customer-in. So this dilemma causes most operators to rethink the way that they will design the next generation of networks based on an IoE framework. And within Cisco, we have recently launched a 6-pillar approach to building an IoT system, which includes the first one being network connectivity. The billions of sensors that will come onto the network will rely on a wide variety of access technologies, including low-power wireless networks, mesh networks, Wi-Fi networks, small cells, 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, and fixed networks. They will not only need to cater to have coverage for these sensors, but also the ability to onboard, fulfill, service, and most importantly, the ability to charge based on number of things regardless of the type of network they onboard. The second is fog computing. This allows operators to enable their customers to host apps and decision-making closest to the things. It is a distributed computing infrastructure for IoT, which extends computing capability and data analytics application to the edge of the network. Third is security, which I talked in detail about earlier. Fourth is analytics. The IoT system and framework in place must provide an optimized infrastructure to implement analytics and harness actionable data for both the Cisco Connected Analytics portfolio and third-party analytics software. Fifth is a very important pillar, which is management and automation. With an increasing volume of new sensors, devices, and gateways coming on board, operators will need to have the ability to manage via an easy-to-use management system. And sixth and final is an application enablement platform. This offers a set of APIs for industries and cities, ecosystem partners, and third-party vendors to design, develop, and deploy their own applications on the foundation of an IoT system capability. Operators will have to leverage an agile framework to be able to build new services and applications at rapid pace, cater to bulk demands in tens of thousands of thing requests, digest data, virtualize it, containerize it, and make it available for consumption for a variety of different applications. The ability for operators to agree on data ownership and access with their customers will likely be a key differentiator in the types of businesses they attract, who would be able to innovate and develop custom applications for their business problems. The successful operators are very aware that the ability for their vertical applications to be integrated to the existing enterprise ERP environment will be a key requirement. Once integrated into the enterprise's existing environment, creates a seamless experience for the business, creates stickiness for the operator's connectivity, and is a huge value that SPs can provide. For a lot of the other, especially small, medium business offers, SPs will continue to leverage their developer network to continue to monetize based on number of API calls and or promotion of app creation by encouraging the long tail of developers to create bandwidth-consuming applications. And moving on to the final slide, as mentioned previously, a successful go-to-market for IOE is very dependent on a rich ecosystem of partners. While operators will continue to build vertical applications for a few key industry segments, they will need to develop a rich ecosystem of partners to be able to deliver vertical applications via a marketplace of ecosystem partners that are industry and vertical specialists. Operators need to be very careful while prioritizing on verticals. Habit forces operators to go after segments that require a higher number of connections. While this does translate and help operators in an exponential increase in the number of subs, it does not necessarily proportional to the contribution to their top line. As one research would suggest, that by 2020, number of machine connections will represent about 22% of an operator's overall connections, but less than 1% of revenues. Operators should focus to choose on high-value solutions that will contribute to their top line and not only focus on mobile assets that require license connections, but translate to minimal ARPCs or average revenue per connection. And with that, I would like to hand it over back to Tim.
Yasir, thanks for your presentation. Clearly, there are plenty of opportunities for operators not too far away. And with that, I'm going to open up for a written Q&A session, inviting questions from the floor. If you've got anything you'd like to ask Yasir, just write it into the comments box that you can see on this screen. Yasir's answers will appear as text. Just to remind you, there is no audio element to this Q&A session. So that draws a close to this special IoT webinar from telecoms.com Intelligence, and I just need to thank Yasir and Cisco for their presentation, and also thank you for attending and for being involved. This series features 3 other webinars which have all either been taking place or coming up, so keep an eye open for those. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.